Welcome to Ask a Brit, in which I become a croaky, serious man for no reason. This is Ask a Brit, episode 40, and they say, of course, life begins at 40. I would say that this series has had life in it before now, but it was confused in its 20s, it was working itself out in its 30s, and now it's just going to go and have fun and go to the casino. You know, a show can't really do that. It would be good if I could take this out to a casino and make lots of money, more than I do on Google AdSense. But of course, this is the format in which I ask you fine people to ask me any question you like, but you must use the hashtag AskABrit in the comments below. That way I can find your question next week. Now, you may have noticed that I have a special prop that often turns up in these videos. Sometimes it is a picture of the Beatles, which is way over there. Sometimes it's an entirely different picture, like the one behind me that you can only half see. Couldn't get us both in, otherwise I would have. But it has a special place in this video because we have two questions this week about the very photo. And the first question comes from Nick Wright on Twitter. And Nick Wright asks, where can I get that great picture of a Routemaster that hangs behind you in most of your YouTube presentations? You can get it at IKEA. Well, that's at least where I got it some years ago now, or 3 years ago, so I don't know if it's still on the market. If it is, go there. They have lots of other good pictures as well that are of this kind of size, that are perfect for one wall. So you can get a picture of the Eiffel Tower, the Empire State Building, the Grand Canyon. There's all these great sort of tourist traps. Can be found in a very secret area of IKEA if you're willing to stick out all of the sort of like avenues that you have to go down in order to reach it. But Courtney, I'll go home, asks, do you keep that London picture and other ones of England to remind you of home? I do, Courtney. You know, I used to live on that street right there. I'm kidding. That would have left me in horrible amounts of debt. But of course, I did live in London for a while. You know, it's funny though, I've said this before, I think when I lived in London, I would never have bought pictures like this. It wouldn't have made any sense. But now it is sort of a nice, comforting reminder, I think, of the place that I grew up. I mean, I didn't grow up in London, but I certainly spent many a time there and fed lots of pigeons in Trafalgar Square till they attacked me. Susan K, hey, what was your favourite part about your trip to West Virginia? I think my favourite part, well, it involved hills and mountains. One of my favourite parts was going up to the top of some hill, just randomly in the middle of nowhere, and looking out and seeing the pleasant view. And also just driving around really and seeing the enormously nice countryside of the Appalachian area. Just fantastic, yeah, and it's very meandering too. It's not just that it goes up and up and up, it goes round and round and round, and it's just very nice in that regard. I think that's, you know, it feeds into that part of wanting to see the lifted terrain of America that you might see out west and all of that good stuff. So it was a nice early introduction to that kind of thing. All right, the next question comes from Jamie Ramone, and Jamie asks, have you been to New Mexico already? If not, what the hell are you waiting for? That's all caps on that. So clearly Jamie wants me to go to New Mexico. I want to go to New Mexico. I'm waiting on funds, patreon.com/lostinthepond, and time, because there's a lot of other states to get in there. Now, I will state, and this feeds into a question we have here in a moment. In fact, I'll skip to that question real quick here, because it's from James Harvey. Your travel series seems to have been put on the back burner. Do you have any further trips planned? If so, where and when? So yes, it has been put slightly on the back burner. I covered this in a previous video, just due to health. I've been undergoing some health issues. More on that later this week, by the way, and a few other sort of setbacks in my personal life. I don't want to get all weepy, so let's not go there right now. But the Finding America series is going to recommence, and in fact, I have a trip planned, hopefully later this year, to Idaho, and I'm also visiting Iowa here in the next few months, we hope, is part of the plan as my recovery gets better. So we will see on that. But of course, I'm going to get to every state. Nothing's going to stop me, except maybe the authorities when they realise what I've done. I'm kidding. No, the Colorado incident was after they passed the legislation. And Heather Baisley asks, what place in the US are you most excited to visit, assuming that you had all the necessary funds? Again, patreon.com/lostinthepond for your travel series. So I've often talked about Portland, of course, and just the Pacific Northwest in general, so Seattle as well. But that kind of area just looks really cool and, you know, reminds me of home in a way, just because of the weather and all of that. But this week, you know, I've been craving national parks, specifically those monumental national parks out west. So, you know, the likes of the Grand Canyon, and I'm going all Welsh on you for no reason. And, you know, just Glacier National Park, Yellowstone, Yosemite, all of those, you know, they each seem to have their very distinct look about them. Of course, it would be nice to go there with even better video equipment, but that's something else that we're having a funding drive for on patreon.com/lostinthepond. I think I mentioned that address already, but go there. Even if you're not interested in helping funding the Finding America series, you can certainly go there just to see what it is that we have planned and all of that good stuff. Okay, and the next question comes from Laura Weiss. What are your thoughts, switching gears here, what are your thoughts on Iron Bru? It was pretty ubiquitous during my visit to Scotland and Yorkshire some years ago. I don't understand a soda pop that tastes like whatever it is that it tastes like. Bubblegum? I think it does taste like bubblegum, doesn't it? It's a bit weird. So I don't drink pop anymore, but when I did, you know, Iron Bru was certainly something that entered my mouth, you know, on a regular basis. Not regular, semi-regular. When I could get a hold of it, you know, you needed your own dealer. You know, not drugs. I'm talking specifically about pop here, so Coke, and not that kind of Coke, different. And Iron Bru was sometimes in there. I know that I think a friend of mine did send me some Iron Bru once, as a joke. Yeah, I devoured it in 10 seconds. But deep down, I truly don't understand the fascination with the drink. It does taste like bubblegum. Next question, Julie Anderson. The facial hair looked quite nice in last week's video. What does your sweet wife Tara think of it? Don't know. Good question. She is busy right now on the toilet. She wouldn't appreciate me telling you that. And I'm not really certain entirely what she thinks of it. She might see it as an act on my part of laziness, because I haven't got around to shaving it off. But she might also find it quite Paul McCartney 1975-esque. I just don't have the mullet, you know, or the ability to write a song like Silly Love Songs. So I do have that ability, and I think she knows that. All right, next question, Susan Ray. Do you think you are losing your accent? I don't know. Although I will tell you this. I found a video that I'd recorded for my family. I think it was a happy birthday video or something like that, that I'd sent back to them about 6 or 7 years ago. And in that video, I was starting to sound more and more American. You know, more so I think than I do now. But since I started doing this YouTube channel, I think I've been quite sort of conscious of the way I speak. You know, it's subconscious, actually, I think. In that I think that the Englishness, the Britishness comes out of me more because I know that, you know, I'm almost performing a role here. You know me as a British person. So I'll say now YouTube instead of YouTube, as I was starting to do back in the day. That said, this week somebody did suggest that my accent is on the wane and that I should be ashamed of myself for incorporating American English. No, I will not be ashamed of myself. I believe that A, it's unavoidable, and B, it's actually quite beneficial. You don't want to move to a new country and not adopt the language of the locals. That way you will get lost in translation all of the time. It makes sense for me to utilize a lot of the American English, some of which, by the way, was actually coined in the United Kingdom back in the day. So words like soccer, gasoline, etc., are not American terms in terms of their coinage. But I guess the question was more about my accent. Am I putting, you know, certain American inflections in there? I might be at times. And again, it just happens. You hang around people for 10 years who say things a certain way, you are going to pick that up. You know, I remember I attended a party in London in the late 90s and I got absolutely wankered and started mimicking, not in a mean way, but started mimicking the Scottish accent of this person I was talking to. You know, it turned out he was Irish later on, and I didn't know that, and he didn't want to stay friends after that. Hannah Abbey, I've always heard of High Street, the term High Street. Is that like a major road with shops, or is it a section/district of London? What's it like? Do they say, I'm going to the High Street? So High Street really is the equivalent in the UK of Main Street in America. It's where a town or city will have its deepest concentration of shops and sort of business-related establishments. So a high street is by no means exclusive to London, although you probably find more high streets in London than you do in any other town or city. But that's really all it is. So Main Street, High Street, pretty simple comparison there. And the final question today comes from Linda Farrington, and Linda asks, I've noticed that some Brits say sixth instead of sixth. which is very hard for me to say. Is that a regional pronunciation or a mispronunciation? I know what you're saying there, Linda. I say sixth, I think. I don't pronounce an X sound, but then again, I mean, it's kind of hard to do it, isn't it? To go sixth. It doesn't roll off the tongue very well. I'll try it again. Sixth, sick. I'm going to be sick in a minute if I keep doing this. Sixth. So do Americans really say sixth? Sixth. I did it. Oh, it's a revelation. Thank you, Linda. I'm going to do this forever now. Sixth. It's regional. It might not be regional. Sixth. Oh, that's brilliant. That is brilliant. Sixth. That's it for this episode of Lost in the Pond and Ask a Brit. Thank you for joining me. If you have any questions, keep them coming here in the comment section below using the hashtag #AskABrit. And don't forget, you can follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on Instagram, where I have these beautiful pictures of me in the snow. You can follow me on Facebook and also go to my website, lostinthepond.com. And I think there's another URL that I'm trying to think of. Oh, yes, patreon.com/lostinthepond. Go there now if you wish to support this channel. Until next episode, have a very good week and especially enjoy the sixth day. But see ya. Bye.